Welcome to Bay Focus. Thank you for joining me today. You are in for a real treat today. Periodically, we feature churches here in the Tampa Bay area and what they're doing to get outside of the four walls of the church and get out of the community. And boy, are we privileged today to tell you about a church we've never had on Bay Focus before. It's called Bridgepoint Church, and they are growing incredibly in the city of St. Petersburg and reaching their community with the gospel in some very creative and unique ways. And we have the pastor on with us today, also their communications director. We're going to talk with them in just a moment, but before we do, I want to just give you a look at the ministry and some of the church service, a little bit of a look at the facility as well of Bridgepoint Church in St. Petersburg, Florida. Let's take a look.
Good morning, Bridgepoint. How are we? Let's stand, let's worship, let's sing. Let's sing Heaven Thunder.
To join together as a church, and we want to celebrate Jesus. Are y'all cool with that? Yeah? Good. Well,
unstoppable God, let your glory go on and on. Impossible things in your name, they shall be done. Freedom conquered, all our chains undone. Sin defeated, Jesus has overcome. Mercy triumphed when the third day dawned. Darkness was denied when the storm was gone.
What he's trying to do is help the young man understand the significance of what he's talking about and the significance of who he's talking to. See, Jesus understands unless the guy really gets this thing from the beginning, then anything else he's going to tell him doesn't matter. Unless he gets who he's talking to, what he's talking about, who he's talking about in relationship to God, then nothing else matters. And you and I have to do that. Last week we talked about that. Putting God in his position. Because unless we recognize that we're not God, then why in the world would we seek God?
Nothing shall be impossible. Your kingdom reigns unstoppable. We'll shout your praise forevermore. Jesus, our God, unstoppable. Nothing shall be impossible. Your kingdom reigns unstoppable. We'll shout your praise forevermore. Jesus, our God, unstoppable.
Well, I love that praise and worship there, and a look at Bridgepoint Church, and you saw him a little bit there briefly on the video, but we have also with us today the lead pastor of Bridgepoint Church, and that is Tim Whipple. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks.
And you brought along with you your communications director, Amy Willoughby.
Hello.
And Amy, thank you so much. You know, very, very cool that a church has a communications director.
Yeah.
I like that. I mean, not all churches have that, you know, that title, because there's so much you guys do. And we're going to start with, because we're going to fly here. We have so much ground to cover and talk about because you guys do so much. But Pastor, tell our viewers where you're located, a little bit of the history and how long the church has been there. I know you're not totally new, but it's not been that long, right?
Well, we started in 2006.
Yeah.
Just 3 people gathering together and decided to start a new church, and met in a hotel room for a little while, and then moved to a couple of different schools, landed at St. Pete High for about 4 years, and then got open the door for a facility to partner with a church that was struggling a little bit. So we came into their facility and rented it for about 4 years. And then about 9 weeks ago, moved into our brand new facility, the first one we've owned, at Crosswinds Drive, directly behind Best Buy in St. Petersburg, right in the Tyrone area. We renovated a former lifestyle fitness facility, and now that's where we meet.
As
So
you know, that's an incredible progression over basically a 9-year period on how you have just grown and exploded, and really exploded in growth. I mean, it's been an amazing thing to see. All right, and I want to really get into this, and I'm going to start with you, Amy, because we're going to come back and talk to Pastor in a moment. But there are so many things that you guys do, and inside the church and outside the church. When people come, they have opportunities to get involved in. Can you kind of tell us what some of those things are?
we try and get everybody involved in one way or another, or in multiple ways, which a lot of our leadership and a lot of our amazing volunteers and people that attend are involved in multiple things, whether inside the church and outside in the community, because many people are just looking to invest and pour themselves into just causes that are greater than themselves. So in addition to the the typical church, greeting and serving people coffee and helping them find seats, we have a number of opportunities in the community as well. We partner with different organizations within the community to meet needs in the community, whether it's a canned food drive so that we can stock a local food pantry. We do a really, really amazing outreach in the wintertime when the temperature does fall below 40 degrees. It does happen here in Florida. We work with the Pinellas County Homeless Leadership Board, and they open up a shelter. It's called the Cold Night Shelter, and our people go and they staff this shelter. They bring the homeless people in and they give them a bed to sleep in, they feed them dinner, they feed them breakfast, and volunteers from Bridgepoint will go in and completely staff that. But the one that we're really, really excited about, because it's just such a unique niche in our community, it's called Build-A-Bed. And it's something that's very unique to this community.
So cool.
It's really, really neat. We have warehouse space. Our volunteers build the beds, from wood and all that. We acquire the new mattresses. People will donate new bedding items, pajamas, stuffed animals, all of that, and we work with the community outreach partners to identify needy children who don't have a bed to sleep in at night, and we literally on Saturdays go and deliver beds to kids who will be sleeping in their bed for the first time.
And
this past Saturday we delivered 14 beds to kids just this past Saturday.
Wow. You wouldn't think that would be an issue in the United States of America, but it is.
It absolutely is.
We identified, Darlene, that about 7,000 children in Pinellas County do not sleep in their own bed at night.
Wow.
And we said that's unacceptable, so we can build beds and we provide them for them. It's pretty cool.
And another thing that you guys do, and is because since we're talking along that line, is the Family Promise of Pinellas County. And that's right along that line. You actually host homeless families, right?
Mm-hmm. They're in transition. We're trying to keep them sheltered so that they can kind of move on to what's next for them. And so it's a temporary 1-week program where they're able to spend the night there. They have, a roof over their head and beds to sleep in. We have the facilities. Why would we not? Why would we not provide that?
Yeah,
so there's other churches in the area that are also doing that. So it's a really cool cooperation with.
Yeah, we're going to be highlighting that in a program in a few weeks here on Bay Focus, and all the churches that are coming together to do this. What a tremendous example of faith in action. Okay, if we have more time to come back to that, we will. But and one of the things I want to say too, Bridgepoint has all the things you need for children, youth. You do all the ministries to reach different age groups, demographics, and along that line, home groups, right? Don't you do like group?
What we call life groups. We have life groups, learning environments, as well as our student ministries. We call that SPIN, Kids Point, our Upstreet ministries. Yeah, the full gamut of things that you would do to reach the family.
So you have all that. So you reach the families. You have in-reach and outreach opportunities. All right, I have to go to this next topic because it so struck me. I have to tell our viewers at home where I was familiar with Bridgepoint Church, but I was totally drawn to an article I saw. I'm going to give Tampa Bay Times a plug here for a moment because they did a wonderful feature on Bridgepoint Church, and that struck my eye, and I read this some weeks ago. And the title of the article was "Church's Vibe Engages Millennials on a Quest." Now, I first have to say, I'm surprised at this to some degrees. Not everybody knows what a millennial is when I'm in conversation. Well, the millennials are your younger group, the people born in the 80s and 90s, that age group, okay? Right. I got to ask you, Pastor, again, I got to say the title, Church's Vibe Engages Millennials on a Quest. They're over 70% young adult age in that church. All right, what is the vibe and what is your quest?
Well, there's this battle going on in the church. Can you be attractional and be missional at the same time? And we believe you can. First of all, we believe that Jesus was the most attractional thing there ever was. And so what we've done is created an environment that is attractive. It's fun, it's dynamic, it's an environment where people are engaged with what's going on, but also they enjoy themselves. It's a stylistic thing. It's very modern in its style, but it's also missional. And people ask me all the time, what captures people? Why are you growing? We're growing because people catch the vision. Our style attracts them. We get them in the door, but what keeps them, what sticks them, so to speak, would be the mission. And because what people are drawn to is why. And why are we there? We're there to help people get closer to God. All the people, our entire community, our city, and we're seeing that happen. We're making an impact in the city. I don't know if people know, but 7 out of 10 people in Pinellas County don't go to church anywhere. And what we did was we created an environment that would target those unchurched and what we call de-churched people. A lot of people have been there, done that, got the t-shirt, don't want to have anything to do with church anymore. As a matter of fact, we found that the #1 reason why people didn't attend church was because they saw it as institutional and irrelevant. We said, well, we'll kill both of those. So our vibe is a very relevant vibe. It's a very modern vibe. It's a very attractional vibe. It's a thing that people want to invite their friends to come to. And then, but what's most important, what the quest is to be a part of something bigger than themselves. And one of our values is that once people become invested people invest in people. And that's what we're excited about happening. And I think that's where the growth is coming from.
Okay, and you have, and obviously, you know, your doors are open to people of you know, all ages and everything, but it's a particular, that concept's a particular draw to a younger generation that maybe feels they can't fit in to another type of service or another type of church. But it's also, and this is, we're running out of time and I feel like I want to cram so much in. What would you say to a pastor then that's trying to reach, you know, you have churches that are trying to be multi-generational too, trying to hit everybody as well. So what would be your, would you tell them, change a little bit what you're doing, change it up?
Sure, but I don't think it's necessarily style. Again, I would take them back to why. Okay, focus on the why. Capture them with vision. What people want to be a part of is something big, something that's making a difference.
Have a vision.
And so have a vision. Go back to why. Why are you doing? We focus too much on what we're doing. What is way down the road? Focus on why, and then people will be captured by that, and then they'll go and do whatever. We're not making, God's doing this thing, and then people are captured by the vision, and we get to sit back and watch it happen. We pray every day that we don't mess it up, because God's doing it, and people are captured by the vision, and lives are being changed, and they want more of that.
So, all right, so if, so what we could say here really, I think this is really, really important to say this, is, you know, you could have all the bells and whistles you want, and if you don't have vision, you're going to lose, and they're going to go to the next bells and whistle spot.
Exactly. It's not about style. We happen to be a very modern, creative, very dynamic style church. But that is not what draws people. That's not what keeps people. Vision, purpose, mission, that's what keeps people, and that's why we're growing.
That's terrific. That is terrific. Okay, in just a couple minutes we have left, I'm going to throw this to you, Amy. There's a lot of different ways people can connect with Bridgepoint. You guys are very tech savvy too. So just tell our viewers how they can connect quickly. We have about 1 minute to share that.
Well, we meet people where they are, and people are on social media. So, you know, we're Bridgepoint FL on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Our website is a great place for people that are checking out the church but haven't walked through the doors yet. You can watch all of our messages online. And the really cool thing is, and again, this is so helpful for people who are wanting to check out a church but just aren't ready to walk through the doors yet, we stream all of our services online. So you just go to the website, click on the messages button, and if we've got a live service going on Sunday, you can tune in and watch it. So it's a great way to get a preview.
They pull out your devices and find you too. You can
absolutely. We've got a church app. Absolutely.
Yeah, church. That's very cool. The whole church app thing.
You can watch messages right from your phone or your iPad.
That is
neat.
Excellent. That's excellent. All right. Thank you both so much for coming. Thank you, Pastor, for taking time, particularly out of a busy schedule. And stay tuned on the screen. You're going to see one more time how you can contact Bridgepoint Church, and we'll be right back with more of Bay Focus.
Bridgepoint Church is located at 6690 Crosswinds Drive North in St. Petersburg, Florida. To contact the church, please call 727-384-3400 or send an email to contact@bridgepointfl.com. You can also connect with Bridgepoint Church at bridgepointonline.org and through Facebook and Twitter.
I'm sure you've heard the saying, "You are what you eat." And many can vouch that this is a very true statement. Proverbs 27:19 talks about a similar comparison, which goes, "As water reflects a face, so a man's heart reflects the man." And just like what you put inside your physical body reflects the body, what you put inside your spiritual body reflects the heart. Putting the Word of God daily inside of you and having that personal relationship with Him is key. The Bible talks about that out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. What are you speaking today?
Well, we're going to move to the city of Bradenton now, and they are doing some very creative things in bringing together the faith community with the city officials, law enforcement, everything to meet the needs of the community. And we're going to tell you about a whole new thing called the Bradenton Faith-Based Alliance. And we have two people with us to do that today. We have sitting next to me is Timothy, or did you tell me Tim? I want to make sure I get it right. Tim. All right, I want to call it right. Tim Polk, who's the Director of the Development of Planning and Community Development, City of Bradenton. And I'm going to say that again, Director of the Department of Planning and Community Development, City of Bradenton, one of the organizations. You have another one you're going to tell us about that you're involved with. And then also Pastor Don Sturiano, who is not new to us here at Bay Focus, but involved in everything there in Bradenton. So many different things that you're doing with your church, Kingdom Life Christian Church in Bradenton. Thank you both for coming on today.
Thank you.
And I'm always interested in things that are bringing community organizations together with the churches to meet the needs of the community. And I'm going to start with you, Tim, and you tell us, what is this Faith-Based Alliance?
Well, the Faith-Based Alliance really got started with our redevelopment plan. Also, I'm executive director of the Central CRA, Community Redevelopment Agency, with the city of Bradenton. And we had a plan that deal with bringing ministers together. We have roughly about 35 churches and religious organizations along one of our corridors called Martin Luther King Corridor. And so the thought process was for us to bring everybody together, talk about social issues, talk about law enforcement issues, talk about economic development in our district. And so we pulled together the whole idea of bringing all the ministers together. And we thought there was going to be a good plan just to get 35 ministers together. It's almost like herding cats, getting everybody together. And so, also we talked to Pastor Don. We call him Pastor Don because he's also the chaplain of the city police department. And we talked to Pastor Don because he has pretty good organizing skills. Pastor Don and I worked together before on a lot of other issues involving ministers and ministries. And so we engaged him about coming and working with us. And so we pulled it together, and a good plan turned into a God plan because we had no idea that it was going to take off to the point it's not only representing and bringing churches, mega churches, small churches, black, white, different faiths, different denominations together. And the biggest thing that came to us that we had no idea was going to happen was we brought community-based organizations together as well. United Way, Habitat for Humanity, Salvation Army. And normally churches and community-based organizations don't really work well together. Yeah. Because of the religious dogmas and theologies and stuff like that. And so we brought them together, and they started coming to the meetings. First they requested about hearing about it, then they started coming to the meetings, and it kept showing up. And so we started highlighting those ministers as well as those ministries, as well as some of the programs to be able to do that. And so the whole idea was really to do that. So we took a good plan and it turned into a God plan. And normally God plans are a lot better than good plans.
We took a good plan and it turned into a God plan. I love that. Pastor Don, let me ask you, and you both can comment on this at any point as well, but what is the purpose of this? And when I think of from a pastor, you all do your own outreaches, you do various things. You've been involved in so much working with law enforcement, being the chaplain for the law enforcement there, and then also connecting with some Christmas outreaches and stuff. But what are you guys targeting? I'll let you first, and then you guys can both comment on this. What are you targeting? What community issues, community problems do you think this alliance is going to help?
Well, there's several. You know, there's first and foremost the homeless situation. We're attacking hunger fervently. You know, we've been doing the Mayor's Feed the Hungry program together now for several years. And basically some of those initiatives that we've done as an individual church, we've decided to use through the Alliance to mobilize the entire body of Christ with those that will cooperate so we can do it in a larger scope and reach more people. The Manatee County Food Bank, for instance, since we initiated the Faith-Based Alliance, we have so many more churches now that are putting food barrels in their lobbies and in their churches, along with all the organizations that Tim has spoken about. So it's just working together and being organized to heal the hurts of the community. So it's economic development, it's educational. Those are some of them. Some folks don't know how to sit through an interview to get a better job. So we want to attack all of those areas to better life. And at the same time, we're doing it as a faith-based organization that believes in the power and the love and the wisdom of Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so it gives you an opportunity to reach people and show them the love of Christ, basically, in a whole new different way. And
yes.
Yeah, and by what you're doing. Okay, would you add to that at all, Tim? Is there any other? He listed a lot of different community, but from a governmental perspective, why is it so important to have these many people? My first thought is the government can't fix everything on their own.
Right. And I tell the government to, because I work for the government, I tell them it doesn't cost you a dime. Yeah. Because what we do, we connect people that are in need. And we connect them to programs, we connect them to people, we connect them to processes that are that's already out there. And what it is really to, as Pastor Don said, is to heal the hurt.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so how big of a problem is it? I mean, I'm thinking Bradenton, Florida, and surrounding areas, you know, you think of vacation area, nice little small, I think of it as a small town. It's not. Bradenton's a little Manatee area, is bigger, more spread out, and you've got a lot more going there. But have you been able to kind of isolate, what are you, I'm sure some people are within your organization. Okay, how much of a homeless issue do we have? How much do we have issues with young people and crime? Or, you know, how big of a problem is it there?
Well, you know, to address it on first a small scale, an individual scale, to highlight the Faith-Based Alliance, we had in one of our meetings, one of our law enforcement officers saying, you know, we have some of these folks, they get arrested for a minor crime, and then they can't get a job. So they can't find a job, and so they were a repeat offender. What this officer wants to do is be able to go to the port, pick them up when they're released, and help them find a job, but they didn't know how to do that. But then they discovered someone in the Faith-Based Alliance called Turning Point that specializes in getting people jobs that already have a record and putting them together. So the Faith-Based Alliance on an individual scale is a conduit to connect the dots so people know of these different organizations, different ministries that have the answers. The church with good meaning and a good heart is constantly guilty of reinventing the wheel. And sometimes we don't have to. What can we already partner with that's working? So that's on an individual scale. On a larger scale, there's 1,500 homeless children in Manatee County. And some of them, the only time that they get a hot meal is during the school year when they go to school. Well, the Food Bank Initiative, they provide meals not only for the homeless, but for the schools, so children that don't have money to eat can eat for free at schools. So that's on a larger scale. Yeah. But it's much wider than that too. It's helping people better their life, get a better job, economic development, as Mr. Polk said, and so on.
All right, I'm going to give you guys both each an opportunity in our just a few moments we have left. From a pastor's perspective, is this a win-win? A lot of times churches are a little bit hesitant to partner with other groups, and it's one of the harder things to do. It shouldn't be, but it is the hardest thing for churches to partner with all these other organizations, because sometimes they feel that you know, they would rather control their own, what they're doing out in the community. Yeah. So, but from a pastor's perspective, to become a part of a faith-based alliance, what's the win-win part for you?
Well, I think first it's being obedient to the vision God has given me as a pastor and us as a church. Years ago, I was wondering, why haven't we grown faster? Where's our building that we want to get into? And the Lord spoke to me and said, I've not called you to build a church, but to love a city. And as you love the city, I'll build the house. So there's a vision that's deep into my heart that I'm just being obedient to. I think the advantage to it is that we can get more done. And if we just put aside our own personal agendas and our own plans and focus on a God plan, we can do more. You know, we look at Joseph in the Old Testament. I call it the Joseph anointing. He worked with government, which was Pharaoh in Egypt, and they cured the famine. And I think by mobilizing the body of Christ, as I said earlier, we can just do a better job going into blessing all the kingdoms of this world with the kingdom of Christ. And
instead of always trying to do it yourself. That's kind of a theme. It is kind of a theme of today's show, because even the previous interview we had on the show, Bridgepoint Church, they are sending people into organizations that already exist. You know, they're helping staff, helping man other community, and that's really important from a city's perspective. What does this do for you?
We have a model in the Central CRA called Transforming Community by Transforming Lives. And this is one of the ways we do that.
Yeah.
The other thing too is that we have a lot of these organizations, ministries with churches as well as community-based organizations that have programs and processes. They have no outlet to be able to do that. And so we are the conduit to get the word out and also get them connected to people who are in need.
Okay, now if we have viewers watching, how can they get plugged in? We may even have pastors of churches that hadn't heard about you yet, or different. You're starting to build a base of people coming on with you. How can they plug in with you?
The best way to reach us is on Facebook. If they type in Faith-Based Alliance Bradenton, our page will come up. They can like that, join that, and we're constantly posting events when the next meetings are and different initiatives that we're doing in the community. So that's the best way they can communicate with us and be a part.
Okay. I want to give you an opportunity, Pastor Don, because I always try to do this when I have pastors on. Just promote your church a little bit. Tell us where your church's times you meet, and you guys do so much out in the community.
Well, Kingdom Life Christian Church, we're in downtown Bradenton. We're an inner city church. If you're familiar with Bradenton, then you know where Turner Donuts is. So we're right across the street from Turner Donuts. And we meet on Sunday mornings at 10:30, Friday evenings at 7, and Wednesday night at 7 as well.
Okay, and you know, again, I just applaud. I had you on years ago when you first started the church. One of the first things you did was community outreach.
Yes.
I mean, that's highly unusual. Usually churches get going first, and then they try to do. That was like from the first get-go. You were out distributing things in the community, helping needy people. It was all from the get-go. So I can highly recommend Kingdom Life Christian Church. Thank you both.
Thank you.
For both coming on today. And stay tuned on the screen. You're going to see once again how you can contact the Bradenton Faith-Based Alliance. And we will be back with more of Bay Focus in just a moment.
To contact the Bradenton Faith-Based Alliance, please call 941-744-2362 extension 104. That number again, 941-744-2362 extension 104. You can also connect with the Alliance at facebook.com/faith-based-alliance.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's program. We've really tried to give you a program that shows you some organizations, a church to start with, and then a faith-based alliance, also a church represented in there as well, on how you can get out into the community and do things to reach people with the gospel in new and creative and different ways. And you know, I want to say what a thrill it is each week for me to be able to highlight these ministries. I'm always so impressed with the churches and the organizations and government that is partnering with churches and different things that are really meeting the needs of the community. It's truly an example of faith in action. But I don't know about these things if you don't tell me. So please contact me here at ctnonline.com/bayfocus and give me some information if you have it, things that I can highlight on the show. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week. God bless.